Hi, everybody. This is Todd Olthoff from toddolthoff.com coming back at you with another screencast. And this week I thought we'd do something a little different, and I thought we'd look at Mac productivity and more specifically take a look at launcher applications. Launchbar just launched version 6 a couple weeks ago here, and so a lot of people were asking what the difference between Launchbar 6 and Alfred 2 was, so I thought I'd do a bit of a comparison so that maybe you can make an educated choice as to which one works best for you. Launch applications or launchers basically allow you to launch things with keystrokes instead of having to drill into your file structure to find those things. So that's kind of what these applications do, among a bunch of other things. So let's go ahead and start digging in. The first thing to know is that Launchbar and Alfred have different ways of setting up their searches. Launchbar is based on indexing, and so what Launchbar does is it creates an index of your files. And so this right here is Launchbar's index, and you can see that it creates its own system of how to find things. And so you can come in here and look at the index. It's got it by system and actions, productivity, text, media libraries, web. You can see all the information in here. And you can go through and choose which things you want to include and which things you don't want to include inside your index when you're using Launchbar to launch items. And so that's how Launchbar works. Now, Alfred, on the other hand, is basically uses Spotlight. So it integrates with your Spotlight indexing, and it uses that in order to find its applications and things that you're launching when you go through the launcher. So that's how that works. Now, both of these applications look very similar, and you're going to find throughout this that there's a lot of similarities between them. For instance, Launchbar, this is what Launchbar looks like. So it's a very nice interface, kind of clean. Both of them allow you to customize the look of the launcher, and so this is what Launchbar looks like now. Launchbar used to be a little thing that came off of the top of your menu bar, kind of small, which was hard for people whose eyesight may not be that great, and so they've changed it up and made it look a little bit more like Alfred, because this is what Alfred looks like. So Alfred looks like this, and so this is Alfred's Launchbar, where you start typing in information. You can see it's got the little hat over here for the butler, and you can again change and customize this as well. That's how that works. Now, both of them allow you to launch applications, and so basically with this, let's just say we want to take a look at my documents folder. Let's see, documents. Let's say we want to try that word, or let's try something else. Let's try dictionary, and so there's the dictionary. That's there, and then to launch it, all I would do is hit enter, and then Alfred would launch the dictionary just like that. Now, the same would be true with Launchbar, and so with Launchbar, I invoke it, and I type dictionary, and same thing, hit return, and then dictionary comes up. Now, one of the little differences about launching the launchers and all of that is that if you notice, when I invoke Alfred, and I type the dictionary, you'll notice on the side here we've got keyboard shortcuts built in so that you could press those shortcuts instead of having to arrow down to these different things. You could just hit the keyboard shortcut and it would launch whatever it is that you want to launch there. That's how that works. In Launchbar, you don't have that. Notice there's no launcher over here. There's no shortcut. You actually have to type to get it to launch. And that's how that works. One other thing, if you want to launch it right away without hitting enter, if I just go into Launchbar, Launchbar has the ability to, you start typing it, you hold it, and then you hold the last letter, and then it'll launch it automatically, so you never have to hit enter. That's another way that it does kind of a quick launch. So they both, again, very similar, as you can tell. They both have just little nuances that change kind of how they do that and how they make things launch. Now let's take a look at how they work with files and folders. And so they both basically do searches. As I showed you, when we invoke Alfred and we start to type start to type words like airplane or something like that, you'll notice that in this field I can edit, so I can go backward, and change what I wanted to put in there. I can go ahead and type through it. So there's ways that I can edit it. Now, that's different than when you're in Launchbar, because in Launchbar, there is no editing. So if I hit airplane, there we go, I've got it, but you notice I've got no edit. I can't go back. Now, what happens with Launchbar is you just delay for a little bit, and then I can start typing again, and then it'll change it for me. So again, a little bit of a difference there in terms of how you interact with it to get things launched. The other thing is you can drill through folders differently in each of them. And so if I go, if I go with Launchbar and I start typing, documents, see, I do that on documents, or let's try this again. Get my hands right. I get to documents there, and you see I've got various options. If I just arrow to the right, now I can actually drill through the folder structure and take a look at my different documents and then launch them from here. And I can go backward and forward into my folder structure, making that work that way. Now with Alfred, however, I don't just invoke it, like this, and then in Alfred I don't just invoke it and then start typing. That doesn't quite work that way. With Alfred, I've got to hit a different key command to make that work. So I have to instead, I have to go. Let's see, Alt Command / and then what happens is it takes me now into the application area here, where I can then drill through folder structures just like I did in Launchbar. So similar idea, just a little bit different. Again, notice the keyboard shortcuts that let me launch things a little bit quicker. But you need that / there to tell Alfred that you want to drill through your folder structure. So one more step, handled a little differently. The screen looks a little different, but again, kind of the same idea in what they're both trying to accomplish. So let me just escape out of that. Okay, now one of the things that Launchbar has on here that you can get to right away is kind of built-in information on your different files and things. So again, if I invoke Launchbar and I hit, let's say airfoil, and so I go to the right, you'll notice that it gives me package contents. It gives me everything I want to know about this particular file. It gives me the date it was created. It gives me what version it is on the info here, what scripts I can do with it. It just gives me a lot of information. I can even drill into the package contents if I want to and see what's actually inside that application and drill through that just by going this way, going forward and backward. Now in Alfred, you can do to get info, but what you have to do is, let's go to Alfred and let's type in airfoil again. Okay, so we type in airfoil, and I hit tab, and then it takes me to this page where I can enact different things on airfoil itself. And if I want to get information about it, I just click right here. I can't really drill into too much information. I just click get info right here. If I hit return, I just pull this over. It brings up the Finder window to give me the information on that particular application. So you can see Launchbar has a little bit more things that you can do with file information built into it. Okay, now both Launchbar and Alfred allow you to act on files and things that you pull up. So for instance, let's launch Launchbar, and you'll notice here I've got documents. Let's say I want to rename this folder. I just need to type Shift-Command-R, and you'll see that it highlights it so that I now can type a new name over that file if I want to do that. If instead, let's say I wanted to create a new folder inside Documents, then it's just Shift-Command-N. Let me just invoke it again. Shift-Command-N allows me to create a new untitled folder inside that other folder. So again, those are a couple of things that you can do with Launchbar. Now, you can't do those natively with Alfred. You'd have to create custom actions to make that work, a custom workflow, and I'll show you how that works kind of towards the end of this screencast. But those are things that are built into Launchbar. Now, the other thing is if you wanted to act on something, act on a file, you could do that just by doing this. So if I launch Launchbar, we've got the Documents folder. What I would do is hit Tab, and then you notice now it allows me to do certain things with it. I can open it in the Finder. I can send it somewhere, send a message. Whatever it is, I can send it in an email. Whatever I want, I just type what I want to do with it. Now, in Alfred, you can also act on different files and things. So let's pull up Alfred for a minute. And so here is Alfred, but what I need to do first is use words in front of what I'm doing. So if I want to go to the Documents folder, for instance, I need to say Find Documents, and there we go. There's the actual Documents folder. Now, at the same time, just like I do in Launchbar, I hit Tab in Alfred, and then it gives me a list of things that I can do with that folder. So you can see I can browse down here or use the keyboard shortcuts. I can open, reveal and file, I can email, copy to. All of these things are things I can also do in Launchbar, but I just type the words after I launch it. So again, it's just a preference depending on the way that you prefer to use it. If you like more of the typing and the list kinds of things, if you just like the list kinds of things, Alfred's for you. If you like the typing and doing it that way, then Launchbar is a little bit quicker in acting on files like this. Now, one feature that both of these applications have is what's called an instant send. They just do it a little differently. In Launchbar, if I select this file right here that I want to act on, if I hit Shift twice on it, let me just highlight it here. If I hit Shift twice very quickly, you'll notice that Launchbar comes up selecting that file. It's giving me this little arrow over here that lets me act on it. Now, all I've got to do now is type what I want to do with that particular file. So let's say this is a JPEG. I want to resize it. I can type resize. Oops, I got to do it, type it right, and you can see I can resize the image if I want to. I can open it with an application, but notice down here I can resize it to a certain size and make that work. Now again, this is native to Launchbar. The resizing part is not in Alfred. That's something, again, you'd probably have to develop a custom workflow for. But that's built into Launchbar. So that's how Launchbar kind of does its instant send. And it'll do it for multiple files. The same is true with Alfred. So let's invoke Alfred for this. Now, instead of doing Shift twice with Alfred, instant send is Alt Command with the backslash. So we're going to select the same file here, and we're going to do Alt Command backslash, and you can see that it launches into Alfred here. And it launches right into this users folder. Let's try that again. For some reason, it didn't connect to it. There we go. So now it pulled it up. You see it's right up here, and now I can act on it using whatever I want to do in here. Again, just by selecting it as opposed to typing it. So again, just a different way of doing it, but they both have this instant send feature, and they both will do it with multiple files at the same time if you want to do that. So let's just put this down. Now, another thing that launchers are great for is doing things like web searches. And so in Launchbar, if I just bring up Launchbar here for a second, and if I just type Google like this, and I go down to the search bar here, and let's say I want to search for something, if I just hit the space bar, now I can type in my Google search. And so let's say I'm going to search for airplanes. And you notice I get a live search view, just like I do inside Google, of what I'm looking for. You can see that, and then I can select whatever it is I'm looking for, launch that off, and it'll basically pull up Google for me. So it's got this live view. Now, Alfred doesn't have the live search like this. That's not built into Alfred at this point. But Alfred will also do the same kind of thing in terms of a search. So let me just invoke Alfred. Let's try that again. I go Google. And see where it says search for right there? I hit the search for, and then I just type in what I'm looking for. And then I have to hit enter to actually launch Google in order for the search to work. So again, that's a little bit different. Doesn't have the live search, but I can still get the search done inside Alfred just like anything else. Okay, another thing that's really nice in Launchbar on the web side of things is this. Let me just launch Launchbar here. And if I just get Safari up like this, and I just go to the right, you'll notice that it gives me instant access to my bookmarks, my history, my iCloud tabs, reading lists, top sites. All of that is right here. And if I go to Cloud tabs, I can even select the device from which I want to get the Safari tabs that are open right now. So all of that is integrated in a nice interface. Alfred doesn't have that integration. I can search for bookmarks and things in Alfred, but they're not quite organized this way. So that is a nice touch that is in Launchbar related to web stuff. So let me just go off this for a minute. Now, both Alfred and Launchbar have integration with contacts. So in Launchbar, if I pull up Launchbar and I start typing a contact, and then I just go to the right, I can see all of the contacts information just like this. And then I can act on that information, sending emails or making phone calls or whatever I want from there. The same is true in Alfred, but Alfred looks a little different. So if I just invoke Alfred and I type that information, you can see there's my card right there. I hit enter, and I get my long list of contact information on here, just kind of in a contact form. So it's just a little bit different way of doing it, but they both have that integration. Now, one more thing that Launchbar has is integration with calendar and reminders. And so if I just pull up Alfred and I type in calendar, just like this, if I hit the space bar, it takes me to calendars. I can choose a calendar by hitting spacebar again, and then it lets me do a new event. Now, when you put in a new event, you just put, let's say, lunch, and everything's separated by @ signs. So lunch at, and then I can say work, and then the @ sign again. The @ sign again, so I put lunch at work, and then I can put in a date, like today. And you'll notice it starts to bring the information down so I can see kind of how I'm filling it out. And I can put @ again and say noon or something like that. to put in a time. And so I hit enter and it'll add that to my calendar, and now I've got that calendar on there. As far as Alfred goes, if I just bring up Alfred, it isn't built in like that. If I type in calendar just like this and I hit tab, then all I can do is the normal things that you normally would be able to do, the set of actions that are built in. So it's a little bit more integrated in Launchbar than it is in Alfred in terms of how that works. The same is true with reminders. If I just bring this up and I type in reminders and I hit the space bar, I can pick a list in reminders, hit the space bar, and then say, get milk today, and just type that in, and then that'll go right into that list of reminders. So again, that's a little something that is built into Launchbar that's not in Alfred, although you could probably create a workflow for that inside Alfred. One more thing is how they handle iTunes and music. So if I go to Launchbar and I type in iTunes, just like this, you can see I can play, pause. I can also go through my iTunes library if I want to, and I can just pull up whatever it is I want to listen to, albums, songs, all of that type of stuff, and just launch them that way. So I've got, playlists. Here's different playlists that I got. I can just launch my playlist just like this and maneuver kind of back and forth with the arrows, and that's how that works. In Alfred, it's a little bit different in that there's a mini player that comes up. So if I launch Alfred and I go iTunes, you can see where it says iTunes itself if I want to launch the app, or show in the iTunes mini player. If I hit enter and launch that, then I get this interface. That same type of thing, I can just navigate around my different information and find what I'm looking for just by kind of drilling into it. And see, there's all of that info there. So this gives me a window to play, whereas the other one, it's still integrated into the Launchbar interface. So you may have a preference one way or another on that. That's up to you. Now, both Launchbar and Alfred do allow workflows. And so Alfred's workflows, though, are a little bit more visual, which is kind of nice. They allow you to see how the scripts integrate and how things will happen. Inside of Launchbar, you've just got to do the scripts, and then they get embedded inside Launchbar itself. So Launchbar does have this now, but it's not as visual as it is in Alfred, which for some might make it easier, but you still need to know how to run scripts and set up scripts to make that work. One more thing that they both do have a usage meter that shows you how much time you've saved and how much you've used the different functions of the application. Let me just put this down and go to Launchbar, and I got to go up to the actual menu and pull up usage. And so here's the usage information inside Launchbar. Again, sub-search, browsing, instant send, that type of information. Also gives me information on usage, how long I've been using each type, and then average per day shows me that. So just kind of nice. You can also share it if you want to up in the corner. But they both have those functions at the same time. Now, I'm just scratching the surface of both of these applications. Both Launchbar and Alfred are really great launching applications, and it really is a preference in terms of what features you like more and what your style is, whether it's more visual or whether you just go really fast. More visual, you might want Alfred. If you go really fast typing things through, you might want Launchbar, but you really can't go wrong with either one. So hopefully that helps you make your decision. Again, this was a quick whirlwind tour of it. Like I said, I'm only scratching the surface. I didn't get into all of the details, but I gave you an overview of the differences. So that's all I have for this week. I'll be back at you next week with another screencast to help you learn how to do more things with your Mac.